Break is like walking up to the roller coaster and knowing that you are petrified, thinking about all the things that could go wrong on the roller coaster and wanting to run away, but knowing that you have a team of people that are getting you to the place of clicking on that harness where there's a point of no return. Because once your harness is clicked on, that roller coaster is taking off. There's nothing you can do about it. Once it's actually clicked and somebody hits that button, even if you wanted to get off the entire time, you can't. So, what I love about this analogy is that getting onto the roller coaster and allowing that harness to be clicked onto you and actually surrendering, that is the hardest process, right? That is the hardest thing to do because people ultimately fear commitment above and beyond anything else. Once you commit, all of your most deep seated fears can come true, right? Everything can turn on you. If we get ourselves to that place where we're willing to have that harness click down and there's no getting out, the good news is you will finish. You will get to the end. That harness will come off and you will have successfully ridden that roller coaster. What we do with Break Method is we put a lot of intention and energy and support structures into getting people to click that harness on because once the harness is on, you're off. You're going to get it done. Our finish rate is extremely high because of the support structure and knowing that we just have to get them through to a certain point where that harness is clicked on. So I think one of the things that might be important to maybe observe or compare would be when you go to therapy, right? And I think the way you described it, right? There's a lot of ambivalence. You need to slowly build rapport. That person's ambivalence can make them guarded, it can make them evasive, it can make them avoidant of certain questions that you're asking. So in essence, that makes therapy like a meandering stream, right? It's not a rushing river, it is a meandering stream. Sometimes you get sections that have a little bit more flow. Other times it dries up and you're wondering if the client's going to stop coming and then maybe the flow turns back on. Break method forces the client, obviously the client is on board and they're very clear on what they're committing to. They're clear that it is a roller coaster, right? There's no gray area about what they're about to embark on, but it is a raging river of rapids for 16 to 20 weeks and there is every bit of attention paid to making sure nobody gets off the ride until they got what they came for. I always tell people when they're on the rapids, I don't like to be bad at my job. I don't like to be wrong about things. So I've put in every single structure and checkpoint possible to make sure that once you're on this raging river, it's the last time you're going to have to get on it. So that when you get off, you actually fundamentally understand who you are, why you do what you do, why certain behaviors that ultimately lead to your destruction feel so justified in the moment. Because most of us, we feel so justified with our bad behavior. And there's a way that our brain has weaponized a system of language to make us fall into this trap repeatedly. So, to go back to this comparison, right? Meandering stream versus rapid raging river. When we're on the meandering stream, the client is able to delay the process. They're able to be evasive and stop the process. Sometimes you might have sessions that for 2 to 3 weeks are not productive. When I work with clients, because I've worked in therapeutic residential programs before, and the parents will come to me and be like, I don't understand. Why is my kid getting results with you so fast and they're not getting results at the therapeutic program? Part of it is the structure. There's no way for them to get out of it. They can't experience discomfort and avoid. They can't circumvent. They have to face, and they have to face a set structure. I like to describe this to clients coming in as a rat in a maze. Unfortunately, there's no other way to describe it. When you commit to going through the process of break method, you're willingly committing yourself to being a rat in a maze where we change out different stimuli so that you can actually learn to observe how your brain pattern is creating essentially faulty or disruptive systems in your life. But you have to essentially be stimulated in these different ways for you to be able to map it. If that client is able to just decide their path, their brain is likely going to avoid all of the things that ultimately hold the keys to their healing. So, in putting this person as that rat in the maze and helping them move through it in a way that does create triggering events, but it does these in a very specific sequence so that they can immediately understand, oh, okay, why was I just triggered? What thought process was happening right before I just got triggered? What was the language of that trigger? And how does that refer back to this childhood pattern that I've already mapped. This is the process that ultimately gets people to the other side, understanding that being triggered it is important to the healing process. And going back to again meandering stream, a lot of people don't want to step into discomfort. And often a lot of therapists that I've worked with in terms of training with break method, they are trained to be, I would say, possibly too gentle in some regards, and they don't feel comfortable personally overstepping that line, that perceived line where the client doesn't want to be uncomfortable, and yet you as the therapist knows that if they just take 2 more steps, they'll actually feel more freedom. Many therapists struggle with knowing where that line is and feeling empowered to push. And I think some of that is maybe what you referenced when you first started off is that the way the therapy profession has gone, especially with insurance claims and cancel culture and people threatening licensure and all those things, it was already hard to know where the line is. How do you know where the line is now?